E-3 visa interviews only go for 1 to 5 minutes, but the preparation behind them matters more than you realize. Hi, I'm Mahalo, CEO and co-founder of Migrate Mate. We're an immigration company here in New York City, helping Aussies get their E3 visas for $499. I've been on 3 E3 visas myself, which means I've done 3 interviews. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what you should expect at your interview, the questions you'll be asked, and what the consular officer is looking for in your answers. So whether this is your first E3 visa interview or your third, I'll be walking you through the process step by step, so that you can ace your interview. Before we get into it, if you're new to an E3 visa, go watch our E3 visa guide first, then come back to this video. Here's everything that you need to bring to your E3 visa interview. Although in my experience, security and the consular officer may not ask for all of the documents in this list, it's really important that you come over-prepared rather than under-prepared, because if you're even missing one thing that they're looking for, you may be turned away or your visa may be denied. US consulates have strict security rules. Here's a list of things that you can't bring into your visa interview. Consulates have varying security policies. Some allow you to bring mobile phones in, some don't. Some allow you to have smartwatches, some don't. You're going to have to check before you go to the consulate what you can and can't bring. If you turn up with a prohibited item, you may be turned away. You should generally arrive 30 minutes early to get through security. Don't wear too casual clothing, and a suit and tie is unnecessary. Security before you get inside the consulate is just like airport security. You'll go through a metal detector, your things will be scanned through an X-ray, and you may be patted down. Once past security, US consulates go through a 2-step format. Step 1. Document check and fingerprints. After clearing security, you'll go to a window where they will verify who you are and that you actually have an interview today. The documents that you'll need at this step are usually your DS-160 confirmation page, your booking confirmation page, your passport style photo, and also your signed and certified LCA. Once your documents are reviewed and checked, your fingerprints will be scanned. If you're missing any critical documents, you'll be asked to reschedule your appointment or you may be turned away. After documents and fingerprints, you move on to step 2, which is the interview itself. First, you'll get into the interview queue. This interview queue may be long. We've had clients who have had to wait over an hour in this queue. Be prepared to wait. When you get to the front of the queue, you will go in front of a window to meet with a consular officer. This is where your actual interview begins. The interview itself is surprisingly brief. Most E3 visa interviews only last between 1 to 5 minutes. There are 2 mandatory questions that every consular officer must ask worldwide, and this has come into effect as of April 30th, 2026. The 2 questions are: have you experienced harm in your home country, and do you fear returning to your home country? Answering yes or hesitating to answering these questions may result in a denial of your visa. Here are some of the questions that come up the most and what the consular officer is looking for in your answers to them. Consular officers generally want these 3 things. Firstly, the job and company are real and that the job itself qualifies as a specialty occupation. Secondly, that your qualifications match the role. And finally, that you're not planning to stay permanently, because the E3 visa itself is a non-immigrant visa. That's it. Every question that they ask ties back to these 3 points. If you're looking to file or renew your E3 visa, check out the link in our description. We provide you with a complete document package to prepare you for your visa interview. Every single Aussie that we've helped so far has had their visa approved. The consular officer wants you to answer their questions directly and succinctly. You don't need to ramble and you don't need to provide additional information. They will ask for it if they need it. In my experience, sharing more information than what the officer actually asked for can create confusion and lead to additional questions. On screen are a list of commonly asked questions about your qualifications. Remember to answer these directly. If you get asked, what degree do you have? Tell them what degree, what your major and minors were, and what university you went to. When asked about how your degree relates to your specific role, you want to talk about your job duties and how they are applied from your education. For instance, if you have a finance degree, don't just say that this is a finance job. Explain your job duties, like I will be creating different financial models, which relates to my finance degree. If you do not have a university degree or the consular officer is asking you about your previous work experience, be specific to how your previous work experience relates to your job duties listed in your job offer or company support letter. Be concise and keep it relevant. If asked about any previous work that you've done in the US before, be honest. This usually applies to people who have been on a previous E-3 visa or other visa types, so be prepared to explain what your situation was, what visa you were on, and what the work was that you did. Any inconsistency between what you say and what is in your documents can raise red flags. The next types of questions that you'll be asked are about your job, what you'll be doing, where you'll be working, and details about your employment contract. In order to answer these questions, you'll want to memorize your job duties as well as a little bit of information about the company that you're working for. A sentence or two is fine. You'll also want to remember things about your contract, like your salary, your job title, and your visa start date. Consular officers are looking to confirm what is in your LCA matches what you're telling them on the spot. Make sure there are no inconsistencies in what you say versus what is in your documents. The final set of questions that you'll be asked about are around your intent. Because the E-3 visa is a non-immigrant visa, there is an expectation that you will return to Australia at some point in the future. Questions like, do you have family in Australia? Do you have property in Australia? What are your plans after your E-3 period ends? Are fairly standard and common. You may also be asked some personal questions, like where will you live in the US? Where will you work? And have you been to the US before? Remember to stay consistent with what is in your LCA and DS-160. There's been a couple of important policy updates around E-3 visa interviews. Firstly, interview waivers have ended. As of October 1st, 2025, every single E-3 visa application requires an in-person consular interview in order to get a visa stamp. This applies to renewals and even if you're applying for the exact same job. The second major policy update around interviews is that third country processing is now restricted. What this means is that you can no longer go to any consulate in the world to do your E-3 visa interview. You can only do it at consulates in countries where you're a citizen or a resident of. For most people, that means that you can only do your E-3 visa interview in Australia, at Sydney, Melbourne, or Perth consulates. If you're interviewing in a country outside of Australia, a consular officer may ask you, why are you doing your E-3 visa interview here instead of Australia? A good answer sounds something like this. I'm a citizen of this country, or I'm a resident of this country, and it's my home. If you're a citizen of another country, or you reside in another country, like the UK, you can do your E-3 visa interview there. If you would like to see appointment availabilities in Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, or London, you can visit Migrate Mate's E-3 visa appointment calendar. Check the link in the description below. The best part about E-3 visa interviews is you'll be told on the spot if you're approved, refused, or require additional administrative processing. If you've been approved, the consular officer may tell you that you've been approved, or they may just ask for your passport and tell you you'll get it back in a few days' time with a visa stamp in it. This is completely normal and what you should expect. Speak to your agent, attorney, or visit the US visa scheduling website to find out the details on how you can pick up or get your passport delivered. Once you get your passport back with your visa stamped into it, you should double check it and make sure that everything on your visa looks correct, because anything that's inconsistent or wrong may affect your entry or work rights in the United States. If you are issued a 221G slip at your interview, this means that your visa is undergoing additional administrative processing. This is not an outright denial or refusal of your visa. Most times it means that the consular officer requires additional information from you. The slip that you're given may be one of 4 colors, and it will tell you exactly what you need to provide. The final and most unlikely outcome is being denied or refused your visa. The reason why this is so uncommon is because 97% of all E-3 visas are approved. The most common reasons for denial or refusal are because the consular officer was not satisfied that your job satisfied the conditions for a specialty occupation, that your ties to Australia were too loose and you had intent to immigrate, or that your degree doesn't relate to your job. If you are refused, your attorney or agent will let you know what the next steps are. If If you're looking to do your E3 visa interview and have all the documents you need ready, prepared, and filed, reach out to me and the Migrate Mate team in the link below. We help Australians prepare and file their E3 visas for $499 and make sure that you have all the documents that you need to ace your interview.